I need some short-form content for my channel. What should I do? I know, I'll make a tier list, because that's what all the kids are interested in nowadays. Hi everyone, I'm making a tier list. I don't know why, but fuck it, why not? Anyway, I'm making a tier list on Sacred Stones, because it's a game I'm super familiar with, it's a game I'm reasonably familiar with. Played it really recently, because of the Rando Iron Man, and because of another video that probably isn't out at this point, but stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that pile of crap. But yeah, a tier list. Okay, so let's just establish some ground rules first. This is hard mode, obviously, because making a tier list for anything below hard mode is kind of pointless, because at that point you can basically just place everyone in S tier. Because, spoilers, when Fire Emblem is easy to play, every unit is good. It's not specifically Eirika or Ephraim route, it's either or. It's basically like a combined version of both. This is not like an LTC or anything of that nature. I'm not trying to beat the game as quickly as possible, but there will be no grinding. This is not assuming that I'm grinding units like Amelia, Ross, or Ewan in the tower. No Marisa grinding, no nothing like that. No grinding whatsoever. I'm playing at a reasonable pace. Anyway, now that we've done that, I think we can begin. But, who do you start with? I guess we should just start with the obvious one right away. Alright, Seth. Do we really need to talk about why Seth is in S tier? Seth is Seth. He is your starting paladin. I was not aware of just how busted, like dummy busted Seth was until my most recent playthrough. I know, obviously, he's fucking fantastic. I knew before that, but in my most recent playthrough, I decided it's like, what if I just effectively let Seth do everything? People say all the time, it's like, oh yeah, Seth can solo the game. I'm like, you can't solo the game, you're crazy. Like, starting paladins are obviously very, very strong most of the time, and Seth is probably like the strongest starting paladin of all time. And while he can't solo it completely. He can't do it completely. He can't kill bosses like Leon or the Demon King by himself, unless he gets unbelievably blessed. Let me get back to the point. Seth is good from prologue all the way up to endgame, even if he has no extra stats. Even if he gained no stats per level. If you're doing a 0% growth run, Seth would still probably be your best unit. Seth's entire purpose throughout the entire game is to baby you, to give you a way to beat the game without having to invest into any other unit. He has the best class in the game, he has amazing weapon ranks with A's in both swords and lances, so he can use basically every single weapon of those two types right away. You can basically have him rescue Eirika and still double most things in the early game, which is kind of insane. And yeah, do I really need to talk about why he's just so fucking fantastic? He's surprisingly difficult to kill, but he like takes no damage in early chapters. Yeah, he's fucking fantastic. Seth is unarguably the best unit in the game. There's a lot of Fire Emblems where you can argue who the best unit in the game is, like Path of Radiance, between like Titania, Marcia, and Jill. FE6, you can argue between Rutger, Milady, and Percival for who the best unit in the game is. But for Sacred Stones, it's not even a fucking question. Seth is the best unit in the game. Alright, that's an easy one. Let's get that out of the way. Let's just do Eirika. Let's not be too wacky. Eirika, where would Eirika go? She's not F tier, she's not E tier. I'm torn between C and D tier. I'm going to place her in C tier for now, because Eirika, like Seth, has the best availability in the game, which isn't nothing. Eirika's a weird lord. She's very, very similar to Lyn. She has very similar growths and very similar bases. Yeah, Eirika she's a weird unit, because every time you use her, you think it's like, oh, she's not as bad as like everyone says she is. And then you do use her and she gets 3 levels in a row where she doesn't get a single point of strength and she falls behind so fucking quickly. She's okay in the early game because she gets weapon triangle advantage against a good amount of units. She's can quote reliably dodge tank against axe units because axe units are pretty weak in the early game. But she will quickly fall off because her growths aren't very good, and unless you get pretty blessed, she's going to be pretty unreliable. There is also the unique quality that a lot of units don't get. Very rarely in Fire Emblem does this happen. She has the unique quality where she can receive auto levels via taking Ephraim route. If you select Ephraim route as your main route, Ephraim will become your main lord, and Eirika will get sidelined for like 6 chapters, and will come back. If you didn't give her XP up to level 12, I think, she will level up to level 12 with auto levels. If you know you're doing Ephraim route from the get-go, this will effectively give her 11 levels because you don't give her any XP at all. Which makes her a lot better, because those auto levels are actually quite generous. Which is actually makes her a lot better, but also it kind of knocks her availability, and she's a very weird unit to rate. from a standard perspective, her bases are very average for a lord. She has a rapier. Rapier's alright. The problem is she can't really fight calves reliably because she's going to, like, unless you clear out all of the enemies on player phase, she cannot reliably fight calves without dying because Eirika is very, very frail. I imagine she can probably take 2 hits from, like, Iron Sword calves. Iron Lance calves are always going to just fucking decimate her, and there is a good amount of maps with those. I think Eirika's biggest letdown is just she doesn't one-round zombies. She doesn't one-round zombies, like, reliably at all. Zombies have shit all for stats. They are effectively just piles of XP that you have to... They're an XP pinata. An X pinata. That you have to beat open and just collect all the goodies inside. And plenty of units can just one-round them, no problem whatsoever. Eirika can't. She has tons of trouble doing this. I really found this just so super frustrating, because on some maps in FE8 are literally just, here you go, here's a map to gain XP. Like the Gorgon map. Or just Chapter 4, where you get Artur and Lute. Eirika doesn't do a whole lot against zombies. Yeah, she won't die against them. She can probably take like 4 hits from them, because zombies do fuck all for damage, and they're really, like, terrible hit rate-wise. But against other monsters, like gargoyles, will just fucking decimate her. She's not very good against eyeballs. You can maybe one-round them, because eyeballs are made of absolute paper. Anyway, I'm getting really off topic. Eirika is just a unit with very disappointing... Oh, and she's fucking sword-locked as well. I didn't even mention that. She is sword-locked through the entire game. She never gets any, not even a single 1 or a 1-2 range weapon, unless you save all the knights in Last Hope, which I guarantee you will not fucking do. Yeah, Eirika, she's a unit with very, very mediocre bases, very mediocre growth. She's constantly sword-locked. She's 5 move for most of the game, which is rough in a game where calves do dominate. Calves and flyers are at absolute peak in this game. She gets a pref weapon, which is really good. Sickland gives you +5 strength and is super effective against monsters, which is nice, but it gets given to her pretty late. She gets a mount from promotion, which again, nice. It's 2 extra move, that's good. She's just very, very mediocre. I feel always let down by Eirika. Pros are that, yeah, she gets a lot of free shit, and she gets a mount from promotion, which is good, and great availability, but everything else is just so... it's mediocre. Anyway, I talked about Eirika for like 10 minutes. Next, I guess we'll just fucking do them in order, why not? Franz! Everyone's favorite golden boy, except me! No, I'm just kidding. Franz is obviously an A-tier unit. A lot of units in Sacred Stones are just a fucking no-brainer. Like, Franz is obviously an A-tier unit. He's a cav who joins in Chapter 1 with okay stats. His stats aren't actually that good when you look at them. I don't have them on hand because I'm not prepared and I'm a dummy. But basically, he has like 7 strength, 7 speed. He won't double for a little bit on hard mode. The thing with Sacred Stones is you don't actually get very many units in the early game, because there aren't that many units in Sacred Stones, period. I think it has the fewest units in a Fire Emblem at all. So you're effectively gonna pick like 2 to 3 units in early game to just funnel XP into. And Franz is the easiest one to do that, because he joins the earliest and is the easiest to just feed kills to. He'll double soldiers immediately, so that's really good. Again, cav, fantastic mobility. Can get into the combat super easily. Has lances and swords, so he'll always have weapon triangle advantage if you're playing correctly. And I would love to personally put him lower, because, hey, fun fact, whenever I play, my Franz is always terrible, because he gets really unlucky with growths, but that's a personal thing, so I don't count that. His growths aren't actually that great. It's just a case of his class is fantastic, his availability is fantastic. From Chapter 1 to, like, Chapter 4, I want to say, like, who the hell else are you feeding XP? Like, he basically has no contestants for XP outside of Vanessa, and Vanessa is a case where it's like, you're gonna be setting up kills for Vanessa. Whereas Franz can occasionally kill things all by himself. It's a lot easier to give kills to Franz than it is to give to Vanessa. While the payout for Franz may not be as good as someone like Vanessa, because Vanessa will turn into something much greater due to Flyer and just being overall more useful in the long term, in my opinion. He's still just fantastic. Yeah, he's a great unit. Alright, and since I've gabbed about Vanessa for so long, we may as well talk about Vanessa. Vanessa! One of my favorite units in Fire Emblem. Yes, I will take the early game flyer with unbelievably, like, strong bases for a level 1 Pegasus Knight. Vanessa's fucking crazy, dude. Vanessa is a wild unit. I have no idea, like, why they decided to give you the flyer so early. She feels like a unit you should get in, like, Chapter 4. She joins 2 chapters early, which gives you time to just absolutely dump the XP on her. For the record, she is actually quite poor in the early game. She will not kill anything by herself. She won't even one-round soldiers by herself. She's actually quite slow for a Pegasus Knight, but this is made up for her with her incredible bulk. Like, I remember always just being absolutely flabbergasted that her defense and res are so high. Just an incredible, like Franz, just amazing unit to just dump XP into and get a great unit in response. Like, she can get screwed with level ups like Franz, but I feel like it's a lot harder for Vanessa to get screwed over in levels than it is with Franz. Like, Franz basically needs, like, strength and speed to be useful, and, like, if he falls behind on one, he's gonna fall off, kinda, at some point, like, in the mid-game. Vanessa just needs a couple points of strength, and she's golden. Like, she'll basically level speed every other level. She'll get strength, I think, on average every 3 levels. I think she just needs, like, 2-3 points of strength, and she can start killing things by herself. And there's also the case of, like, who makes better use of stuff like energy rings? I think you get like 2 or 3 energy rings throughout Sacred Stones, and Vanessa is absolutely the best candidate for it. And most importantly, Flyer Utility. The 2 best words in the Fire Emblem dictionary. Flyer Utility. Even if your Vanessa is trash, like she just levels up completely terribly, which mine did in my most recent one. I gave her like 13 levels, she leveled strength once. She could not do anything in combat. But I still used her because she was a flyer, and flyers are always going to be fucking useful. There's a lot of, like, debate. I see a lot of people like, obviously Seth is top 1, but people are like, oh, Franz is the second best unit. Oh no, Vanessa's the second best unit. And I would personally rate Vanessa above Franz. Me personally. I just think Vanessa's a bit better. I think the reward is a bit better if you invest heavily into her, just because flyers are really good. You can negate her weaknesses much quicker than you can with Franz. And, like, you can give her Wither Knight, I think is the class, and it can fix her strength issue pretty quickly. And it gives her a lot of con as well. Like, there's just a lot of ways to fix Vanessa's problems. And yeah, you know, she can just become an unstoppable unit very, very quickly. Vanessa, really good unit. Also incredible availability because she joins from chapter 2 onwards. Let's do Gilliam. Oh boy, Gilliam. Gilliam. Oh, do we have to do Gilliam? Is Gilliam E tier or F tier? I'm gonna place him in E tier for now. Gilliam is not good. Even as far as Armor Knights go, Gilliam is not good. But I'm going to go over his positives first. Positive number 1, great availability. Joins from chapter 1 with Franz. Okay, that might be it. Gilliam has terrible bases for a level 1 Armor. Or I don't even think he's a level 1 Armor Knight. I think he's like a level 4 Armor Knight, isn't he? So he'll gain XP slightly slower, which is also a point against him. He's locked to 1 weapon until he promotes. At which one he will always gain 3 because it's Great Knight or General, and both of them have 3 weapons, which is good. His bases are bad. He won't double anything. Gilliam starts with 3 speed, so he won't be doubling anything at the very start, which is fucking terrible. It's like how the problem Bartry has in FE7. Not being able to double something as simple as soldiers is fucking terrible, because it means you can't reliably kill anything by yourself. And he's really not that bulky either for an Armor Knight. There's a lot of axe units and that will hit him. Like, you cannot just take a bunch of hits. Actually, like, the biggest, other than all these other fucking problems with Gilliam has awful growths. Like, I'm actually just gonna quickly remind myself what they are. One sec. Yeah, Gilliam's growths are terrible. And fun fact, he was actually even worse in the Japanese version. He had a lower skill growth and a lower strength growth. So in the Japanese version, he's even fucking worse. To compare units with, like, basically, early game units other than your Lord or your starting Paladin, units like Vanessa and Franz and Gilliam, these are units that you invest into. You can invest into a unit and they will basically always turn up as something useful. Like, I could invest into Gilliam and he will turn into something useful, because I get a Great Knight or a General if I'm feeling spicy. But the problem is, why would I invest into Gilliam when I could just invest into Franz or Vanessa instead? And you could also answer to that question, because it's fun, which is also a completely valid point. For the record, this tier list is completely for fun. If you want to do Gilliam solo, go right ahead. More power to you. Fucking king, queen, whoever you are. You are an absolute Chad if you want to do that. But yeah, I could invest into Gilliam, and what I'd get in return really isn't that good. Like, I get a unit that isn't, on average, isn't very fast. He's not going to double very much. He's going to not get that bulky. He's not going to hit that hard. He will get access to 3 weapons, which is good. That's just a lot of, like, the game is not geared towards defensive play for the most part. In fact, most of the defensive chapters are actually, like, Last Hope or Ghost Ship, which are mid-game, late-game, which basically means he has to go through a really, really shitty early game in order to get to a chapter where he will be useful. And I will admit, for the most part, he could actually be pretty helpful on Ghost Ship, now that I think about it. because just having a good bulky unit to absorb gargoyle stuff would actually be nice. So that's a point for Gilliam. He would probably be useful in chapters like that. I'm not that experienced with using Gilliam. Losing that 1 point of move is really fucking important. F tier is for units that are like basically unusable on hard mode. Gilliam's not unusable on hard mode, he's just very, very bad. Moulder. Moulder is a fantastic unit. For starters, healers are kind of weird in Sacred Stones in that they're not that great. Healers in general aren't that useful in Sacred Stones because the game is quite short, which means it's very difficult to level him up for the most part. Chapters are very quick, which means you don't get to heal very often, which means Moulder will level very, very slowly, and he will gain staff rank very, very slowly. Now, this doesn't mean that Moulder's a bad unit. Not by a long shot. He's absolutely the best staff unit in the game, because he joins very, very early, he has good bases, he's surprisingly bulky for a priest. He can actually take a hit or two, he's really fast, he won't get doubled by anything outside of like Myrmidons and Mercenaries, and he gets access to one of the strongest classes in FE8, Bishop, which I always love to say because I love Bishop. It's one of my favorite classes. Bishop gets the skill Slayer, which gives them permanent effective damage against every type of monster, which is very, very powerful. Because there are a good amount of chapters in FE8 where it's exclusively monsters. There's the Gorgon chapter, there's the Ghost Ship, there's Darkling Woods, that's the last chapter. Yeah, it's a very useful skill, and just having access to that class is very, very good. But yeah, Moulder's just a fantastic early game healer. He's bulky, he'll always get the job done, he's always there when you need him. Very, like, simple. He's just an early game healer. He will probably early promote, which can hurt his stats a bit, but you're not really using him for combat. You're basically just early promoting him so you can get to, like, good staffs, like, just stuff like Sleep, Berserk, Silence, all the good stuff, Warp. But yeah, overall, just good stats, good growths. He will grow nicely. And he's just bulky. Just all-round very good unit. Alright, Ross. Where does Ross go? He's not F tier. Ross is not an F tier unit. I'm gonna put Ross in D tier just because he's a weird... I say this for every unit. He's a weird unit. He's the earliest joining recruit or trainee unit, which means he gets effectively 10, quote, free levels to gain a bunch of XP and improve his stats, because, spoilers, his bases are fucking terrible. He can grow quite nicely. The worst part about recruits is that generally they join very late and you don't have the resources, the time, or the interest, or the real reason to use them. But because Ross joins from chapter 2, you can absolutely train him. What I tend to do in my playthroughs is give him like 4 or 5 levels, because he can just throw his hatchet for around 30 to 40 XP. Like, he can just chip, he doesn't even need to kill things to get an XP. And depending on how good his early levels are, I'll use him or not. Like, basically if he doesn't get a single point of speed in his first 4 levels, it's like, alright, you're on the bench. But if he does, it's like, alright, cool. I'm using Ross. Berserk is a pretty good class. It's not as good as it is in like FE6 where it gets the 30 crit bonus, but it's pretty good. Water walking is always nice. It's not as useful as you'd expect, but water walking is a nice bonus. He has access to the hatchet as well, because the hatchet's a very good weapon, and that it's an accurate 1-2 range axe. Now, that isn't really a point for him, but it is generally what he's going to be using because his starting con is shit, and he can't use other axes very well. You do have to baby him a bit. But I do think he's better than someone like Gilliam, because he is a unit you can invest into, and you get a pretty good unit in response. Like, he'll grow pretty nicely. He won't be that fast on average, I think, but he's reasonably bulky, he hits reasonably hard, and his accuracy is surprisingly good for an X unit. Ross, he's not a very strong unit, but he can turn out to be a pretty useful berserker. You can make him a warrior or a hero, I guess, if you really want to. I don't really see any merit in doing that. Let's be real, everyone turns him into a pirate and then turns him into a berserker. That's just how you do it. That's just how people do that. If you can promote Ross by the end of chapter 4, he's pretty alright. If you can't, he's not. He will fall behind. Because again, 4 move. It's rough. 4 move is fucking rough. But he won't be on that for very long. Ross, very, very mixed character. Can be very good, not guaranteed to be very good. And Garcia. Garcia is a cool unit. Garcia is one of my favorite units in Sacred Stones. I'm going to place him in C tier. I'm almost tempted to place him in B tier, because I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. Garcia has 8 strength, 7 skill, 7 speed. Not quite as good as I remember. He's basically like a much better, or much better is a bit of an exaggeration. He's a better Dorcas. Garcia has a lot of things going for him. 1, pretty good bases. He has access to a good weapon type, which with hand axes and such, and the hatchet, which he can also use because it's not a pref weapon for Ross. And he has base strength high enough to the point where he can maybe just kill things alone with the hatchet. But yeah, 7 speed on base means he can double soldiers, which is helpful enough. And because his strength is high enough and axes hit hard enough, he'll probably 1-round soldiers. at base, which is pretty good. He's reasonably bulky. Maybe not bulky enough to survive hordes of enemies, but bulky enough to be pretty reliable on his own. And he's basically just there to make you question why you use Ross in the first place, because I've done many runs where I've used both just to see which one turns out better, and most of the time Garcia will on average just turn out better. But maybe I'm just getting lucky. He has access to a good promotion with Hero. You could make him a warrior. I don't really see any purpose for that. There's very few flyers, so bows really aren't that helpful. It's much better just to have swords to have weapon triangle advantage. But I think his biggest issue is that he will have trouble growing. Garcia's growths are not good. They are just straight up not good. His only like good growths are HP, strength, and skill. It also means he will stop doubling things quite quickly, and eventually he will start getting doubled by things. And this is rough, because if he starts getting doubled by things, his reasonably good base defense won't matter. And his defense growth isn't quite as high as I'd like. He's difficult to invest into. He's kind of like he's just an early game beta in a way. He has good bases, he has access to good weapons, great availability. I will say this, actually, as another point for him. He has access to the fire affinity, which is a good affinity. Fire is a good affinity if you can pair him up with other people with fire affinity. This map sounds super fucking gimmicky, but I've done it before. It's actually not too bad. I've done Garcia Neimi A support, because they're double fire, and they get, I think, +4 damage, which is actually really, really good. It helps them both out so much. Try it out. It's a nice little support. But yeah, Garcia is very average. I think he can turn out quite nicely if you get RNG blessed, but overall he will just turn out to be an early game unit that you use for about 8 to 9 chapters, and then you will just bench him. Which is fine. That doesn't mean he's necessarily terrible. He's better than his son, at the very least. I like Neimi. I have such a fondness for early game archers, despite the fact that they are pretty much universally terrible. Neimi's going in E tier. I don't think she's quite an F tier unit, because she does have a couple things going for her. Still joins us from chapter 3, which is pretty dang early, so you do have plenty of time to train her if you do want to train her. She can get an early support. That's a plus. Not many characters can get that. No, okay, no. Neimi is terrible. I'd say she is worse than Gilliam for the most part. Naimi's biggest issues arise from the fact that, yes, she's an archer, and archers, especially in GBA Fire Emblems, just tend to not be very good. Her bases are pretty terrible for joining time. She's a level 1 archer, I think 4, 5, 6 in strength, skill, speed, which just isn't good enough. She doesn't double anything outside of soldiers, and even if she can double soldiers, she certainly won't kill them. She's pretty atrocious in combat. And another big part of why Neimi is kind of bad is she has to get an Orion's Bolt to promote. And you might think that's not a terrible thing. Obviously everyone needs a promotion item to promote, and she isn't competing with any other character in the game for that, which could be viewed as a boon in a way, but this also means that there is only, I believe, 1 Orion's Bolt in the entirety of Sacred Stones, and it's in chapter 6, and you only get it if you make it through the entire chapter without losing a single green unit. If you're going on hard mode, and you're trying to not lose units and play a little bit slow, if you're not using Neimi, playing slow on that chapter is arguably the right thing to do, because if you play too fast, you can get pincer attacked by the reinforcement cabs, and those reinforcement cavaliers are actually quite strong. In a weird way, using Neimi and trying to level her and trying to get that Orion's Bolt is actually almost negative to your game plan. It's actually negative to the rest of your army. She's actively being a hindrance to the rest of the army. And another point against her is there's basically, other than gargoyles on monster maps, there's no flyers in FE8. Surprisingly sparse on flyers, which makes archers a bit worse. Yeah, no, Neimi just has too many problems to be really big good unit. But yeah, Neimi, very, very mediocre base. Even for an early game archer, she's pretty damn weak. Colm, this will be a quick one. Colm goes in C tier, because he's a thief. What do you even talk about with Colm? He's a thief. You use him for thief things. He'll steal things occasionally, he'll open doors, he'll open chests. Thieves are really easy to get just over and done with, because they're fucking thieves. What do you talk about? He's actually pretty weak for a starting thief. His bases aren't very good. He's actually not very fast. He's got, I think, 10 base speed and very low strength. He's also very, very frail. And there aren't that many stealables in FE8 to my recollection. I think there's occasional stat boosters here and there, but there aren't that many. And I found that a lot of those stealables are in late game when your units have already snowballed out of control, and FE8 gets easier as it goes along. There's only a couple of hard chapters towards the end of the game. They're mostly in the early game. So by that point, it's almost just not worth deploying him. Yeah, no, Colm he's your standard thief. I'm almost tempted to rate him in D tier just because he's worse than your average thief. He's worse than Matthew, he's worse than Astol and Chad and all those. Colm just isn't He's very mediocre as far as thieves go, but he does have thief utility, so I'll leave him in C tier. Next is Artur and Lute. I see a lot of people really hype up Artur. I'm gonna place him in B tier. I know a lot of people really, really like Artur, and I kind of like him too. I don't think this boy, this holy boy, this precious boy, is a bad unit by any means. No, he goes in B tier. He's a good unit. Starts with pretty decent bases, good growths, good class. Monk is surprisingly alright. Monk is alright. It's good in that it can promote to Bishop, and then you get Slayer, as we talked about with Moulder, and that is good. And he makes better use of Bishop than Moulder does, because he's actually good at combat. He has enough speed to double a good amount of things at base. He'll double almost all monster types, I think. He joins in a great chapter for XP. You can feed him a bunch of XP if you want. And that's about it. I don't know. I always see people rate him really highly, and I'm always kind of confused. Like, he's good, but when I see him ranked with units like Vanessa and Franz, I get a little bit confused, because it's like, well, yeah, he's good, and he has 1-2 range, which is, like, he has an 8-1-2 range because he's a mage, and all mages have an 8-1-2 range, which is obviously fantastic. But, one, he is made of paper, and he's always going to be made of paper. He has virtually no defense, his HP growth ain't great. I don't know, he's not a great boss killer. Like, he can kill things on his own, but I feel like he does it less often than I'd like. His magic is good. When compared to Lute is the quicker one, whereas Artur is the heavier hitting one. He's the one who has the high magic growth. His speed growth is only 40%, I think, which is not that high. He can get speed screwed. I've seen it happen before. And when this happens, he really does suffer. I don't think he's anything more than a B tier. His combat is good, but it's not great. He's not a unit that immediately like one-round units other than like maybe some zombies off the bat. He just doesn't do enough damage, and I think that's partly due to light magic not hitting very hard. Yeah, I think that's about it for Artur, which will segue us into Lute, who is also going in B tier. Lute is a mage and is basically the exact same unit as Artur. They're both mages. They both have very similar bases. Lute probably won't double right off the bat. That's the one biggest difference between them. Lute probably won't double off the bat, but Lute will generally grow better than Artur. There is a case to be made about the fact that Lute will join halfway through Chapter 4, maybe a bit later, to be honest. You can get her kind of early, but for the most part, she'll probably join halfway through, which means she gets half a chapter less of basically just free XP. She doesn't have access to Slayer, which means she can't just automatically melt monsters in the late game, but she does get access to Mage Knight, which is a fantastic promotion. Gives her a mount, gives her access to staves, and she doesn't get light, but who gives a shit? Light is bad. Like, it's not a good weapon type. I'm comparing Artur to Lute, and they're just too similar for me to really spread them apart. You're probably only going to use one of them. Artur is probably better than Lute most of the time, but that doesn't mean Lute is bad per se. She also has pretty much the exact same problems with Artur in that she is made of paper. Lute's a good unit. They both have very similar strengths and weaknesses, but a big weakness. The main difference between them is Lute gets a mount, Artur doesn't. Artur gets Slayer, Lute doesn't. So they both have a bonus, but they can't have both. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. They both have a nice bonus. They're both good bonuses. I'd rather have a mount than have Slayer, because I feel like your damage in late game, most of the monster chapters are in late game, like the Gorgon Canyon and Darkling Woods and stuff like that, are in late game, and by that point your stats are so obscene that you'll probably just face roll through everything anyway. But I can't really regard Slayer as not being good, and Artur does join basically half a chapter earlier. He's also a free deployment slot in Chapter 4. He is free. Natasha! Natasha is not an interesting unit. Natasha goes in, not E tier, goes in D tier. Natasha is not interesting in the slightest. Natasha is Moulder, but with worse stats, 3 less chapters. She is force deployed in 1 chapter. Basically, the only reason you'll ever use Natasha is you'd use her for 1 chapter in that Chapter 5 because she's required to recruit Joshua, and she is force deployed, so you don't really need to heal it. You'll basically never need 2 just raw priests in Sacred Stones. Like, yeah, you could have multiple staff users, but they'll be like sages and bishops and mage knights and stuff like that. But yeah, you'll use Natasha in Chapter 5, and then you'll bench her afterwards. She joins with the men staff. That's nice. Her stats are worse than Moulder. Her growths are worse than Moulder. She's harder to level. She joins later. Basically, she's just Moulder, but worse in that way. And you don't need 2 healers, so she's D rank. Simple as that. I'd almost regard her as the most pointless unit in the game. She's literally just there to recruit Joshua. Joshua is kind of interesting. I'm going to put Joshua in B tier. And this is a bit of a contentious one. I just think Joshua is quite good at what he does, in that he's good at killing things, Whenever I think of Joshua, I think this boy is good at killing. Maybe not throughout the entire game. I think he can fall off a bit in the late game if you try to use him throughout the whole thing, but I think his early game is really, really good because he has great bases. He has enough speed to basically double everything, which is terrific. And I think if you give him like a steel sword or his killing edge, which he starts with, he should reliably one-round most things. Maybe a lot like armor knights and stuff like that. And yeah, he has basic issues that basically every sword-locked unit does. And it's just like, yeah, low move, that sucks, but whatever. It's not exclusive to him. No 1-2 range, and he will never get 1-2 range, which is rough. His promotions don't really do a whole lot for him. You can make him a swordmaster, boost his stats a bit. You can make him an assassin if you want to be funny, and see a silencer proc every now and then, but neither of them are that good. I'd almost advocate for just using Joshua in the early to mid game and then benching him as soon as he stops doubling things. His growth's a standard Myrmidon stuff. He'll probably get HP, skill, speed, luck every single level, and that's fine. The reason he's in B tier instead of C tier is just, it's really, really valuable to have a unit who starts killing things right away. Those units are good. Like Artur and Lute are units that don't really start killing right away, but they do, as soon as they start picking up speed and snowballing, they will start killing. And they will keep killing. Like Franz and Vanessa don't kill units right away. Literally the only unit in early game other than Joshua who kills units from like chapter 1 through chapter 6 is Seth. That's it. Like Franz will start killing units by himself eventually, but for those first few early chapters, no, he won't. But Joshua, on the other hand, doubles basically everything right away, which is really, really good. Killing Edge is great, means he can one-shot a good amount of units. This is great, and just gives him a bunch of value. He's also surprisingly bulky for a Myrmidon. Like, his base defense and base HP are actually surprisingly high. Yeah, he's really solid. He's not the greatest, and he is sword-locked, which fucking sucks, because no 1-2 range. He can reliably dodge tank with a forest, and as long as he doesn't have weapon triangle disadvantage. So yeah, I think placing him in B tier is a fair pick. You could maybe argue for him in C tier, but if I did that, I'd place Eirika down in D tier, because there's no way those two are in the same tier. Next up, Ephraim. Oh, just the Ephraim squad. All right. Let's just start with Orson right away, because that's a nice and quick one. Orson's a quick one. You only get it for one chapter. Yes, he's fucking incredible in that chapter. He's arguably better than Seth. He makes that chapter go really, really quick if you want it to. I don't think you should use him in that chapter, because all that XP is going to waste, and you should be just feeding that XP to Ephraim, Kyle, and Forde. But you can just go through, you can just melt through that chapter if you want to. I'd put Orson in D tier. Purely just because, like, yes, fantastic unit. Like, he's almost impossible to rank. Like, he's barely a character. You get him for one chapter. Yeah. Orson is just, yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome around. Ephraim. Ephraim is an easy B tier unit. With some caveats. Ephraim is very good at what he does. Ephraim is not like Eirika, where Eirika can have a lot of trouble killing things. Ephraim has no such issues. In a normal like modern FE, they decide to make Eirika the fast but weak one and Ephraim the strong but slow one. Instead of that, for FE8, they decided that Eirika should be the fast but weak one and Ephraim should be the fast and strong one. I have no idea why. Ephraim's growths are really good. His bases are great. He has a great weapon type with lances. He has javelins, which is 1-2 range. He has a great personal weapon with the Regan Life. I'm not sure how much he doubles in the chapter he joins. He'll double soldiers for sure. He won't double everything, but he'll double a good amount of stuff, and you can just feed him a bunch of XP and he'll grow out of control like fucking crazy. When I think of a snowball unit, I think of Ephraim. Ephraim can become like fucking unstoppable really fucking quickly. And depending on your luck, he can also become really, really bulky. Like, I think his biggest weakness is his res. His res is crappy, and it means he can potentially, if you get unlucky enough, he can get like sniped by shadow shots from the Gorgons in the late game, but for the most part, he's very, very good. And he also gets Sigmund, which is a +5 strength effective holy weapon. Because why not? He needs it. He needs it, my dude. And he gets a horse upon promotion. I guess that's one of his biggest weaknesses. He's a 5-move infantry unit for most of the game. But once chapter 16 hits, whoop, horse time. Depending on what route you're going, his availability can be trash. Like, if you go Eirika route, Ephraim's actually really, like, not good. Because he's barely in the game. Like, you have 5 guy in chapter 8, and then he doesn't join again until 15. And that's like halfway through the chapter. So if you go Eirika route, I'd say, yeah, he's... Like, if you go Ephraim route, I'd say he's A tier. If you go Eirika route, I'd say he's B tier. Or, like, maybe C tier at a push. Very, very solid. Probably one of the strongest, like, combat lords. I'd argue maybe the strongest combat lord in the GBA games. But yeah, Ephraim is just... He kills things. When I think of a unit that kills things, this is Ephraim. Ephraim fucking kills. Forde and Kyle, I'm just going to rank them together because fuck it, why not? These two chuckle fucks are basically the exact same unit. Yes, Kyle's bases are slightly better. Yes, Forde is slightly faster than Kyle, but ultimately they basically do the same thing in that they are two calves that kill things. Kyle is the bulkier of the two. I think Kyle generally turns out a bit better than Forde. I would just put him a bit higher, because why not? Forde has some strength issues, I find. His base strength isn't great. He's a little bit faster, so yes, he will double most things, but he can also just fall behind. Again, like, Forde is just good. Like, he's not amazing. He's the weakest. Of the three calves, he's the weakest. Forde is definitely the weakest. But he's still, one, he's still on basically the best class in the game. Two, he has a join chapter where he can just level to his heart's content. And three, like, he's just good. He's just good. Like, he has access to 1-2 range, he has access to basically the whole weapon triangle, minus axes, but who cares. Access to Paladin, which is fantastic. He'll level up really fucking quickly. And Kyle, like, yeah. Forde and Kyle are basically the same unit. They are basically just the mid-game calves. They're the Christmas calves, but for some reason, instead of joining at the start, they joined halfway through the game. And they're still fantastic. They're like level 5 and 6, I think. If you, like, spread the XP normally in Chapter 5 Garden, they'll basically end up as, like, level 8 and 9 by the end of it. And have gained a good chunk of stats. Like, Kyle will probably gain, like, 3 strength, 2 defense, 2 speed. Forde will get much faster, stuff like that. Maybe a hit against them is a little bit of rough availability. Like, they will join from 8 onwards. Like, 5 Guidance is literally just there to say, hello, we exist in the game, and we'll see you in 3 chapters! Until then, you have to just rely on Franz, which is totally fine, because Franz is probably better than them. Again, very little investment is required, because you basically have to use them in 5 Guidance, unless you just want to solo it with Ephraim or Orson. Like, in a way, it's almost not an investment, because they're your only units. It's not really, like, an investment, it's just something you'll do. Like, giving XP to Artur or Lute or Joshua or Vanessa is an investment because there are competitors for that XP. In that chapter, in 5 Gaiden, that XP is not being competed for. Like, it's basically just free. So I think that's a point in their favor, regardless of their low availability. Yeah. No, Forde and Carl are very, very good. Let us do Tana. Tana is an interesting unit. I like Tana a lot. I'm going to place Tana in B tier. And I'll just establish this right off the bat. If this was an Eirika route exclusive tier list, she'd be in A tier. And if this was Ephraim route, I'd place her here. I'd keep her here in B tier. Tana is the second Pegasus Knight you get. She's pretty solid. She has decent bases. She can have trouble doing anything on her joining chapter, unfortunately. She's kind of weak. She's like, she has the same problems Vanessa does in the early game, that she can have a lot of trouble just doubling or killing things by herself. But if you feed kills to her, she will generally grow into a much stronger combat unit than Vanessa. I find that Tana is just stronger. Her growths are better, and she will just hit harder. The general rule of thumb for when I play FE8 is, if I'm playing Eirika route, Tana will get basically every booster. She will promote into Wyvern whatever, the Wyvern Knight, Wyvern Rider. I forgot to talk about Pierce with Vanessa. Pierce is the exclusive skill to Wyvern Knight or Wyvern Piercer, whatever the fuck it is. It is exclusive to that class. Pierce is fucking busted. It's effectively Luna. I believe it just negates enemy defense completely on your attack. And this can trivialize bosses. Like, I found like a lot of my strats for late game bosses in FE8 was give Tana the Brave Lance and just hope for a Pierce proc, and if I get one, the boss just melts. So just having access to that class is really, really good. And the reason she's in B tier instead of A tier is because, one, joining time is obviously a lot later than Vanessa. She joins 8 chapters later, which is rough. And if you're playing Ephraim mount, she basically joins another chapter later, because she's basically not usable in her joining chapter with Ephraim. She may as well join in the next chapter. She starts with no weapons, you have to go all the way around the map, killing everything that moves to get to her. By the time she's free, there'll basically be like 3 units left. The chapter's basically over. And another point against her is in the chapter after this, not to like make it so like, oh, you're competing for the Elysian Whip or whatever, but Cormag joins in the next chapter after Tana joins with Ephraim. But yes, Tana, very, very good combat unit. She can grow out of control really, really quickly. And you get the Feely Shield, or whatever it's called, like the Delphi Shield. The flies just ignore effective damage from chapter 15 onwards, which is super early for that kind of like defensive item. And it can just make your one flyer pretty much invincible. Yeah, Tana's just a very, very good combat unit. But she is a very heavy investment. You do have to invest in her. You gotta feed her kills. She will not be good at first. Which leads us into Cormag. I'd love to place him in A tier. I'd want to place him in A tier, but I can't because this is a both routes thing. again, I'll establish this. If this was Ephraim route, Cormag would go in an A tier, and I'd almost give him a separate tier titled A+, that would be exclusively for Cormag. I think Cormag on Ephraim route is fucking busted. I think he's almost the best unit in the game. But the reason he's in B tier instead of A tier is because on Eirika route, he is much worse. Much worse. He joins a whole 3 chapters later, and the chapter he joins in, you literally have to wait to get him. You have to play inefficiently to get him, which sucks. Because it's a survive chapter, but you can end it early by killing the boss, and you can just do that. That chapter isn't very hard. And like, I have Tana at that point on Eirika route. I don't really need another flyer that kills everyone. That's another investment. But yeah, let's talk about what Cormag does rather than what he doesn't. Cormag is a flyer. He has flyer utility like Tana and Vanessa does. But the main difference between Cormag and the other two is that Cormag has really good bases. Cormag can kill things on his join chapter. Both of them. Even if he joins on Eirika route, he'll still be able to kill things. Like, he has enough speed to double a good amount of things, he has enough strength to deal a good amount of damage, he joins with a Killer Lance, which is lovely, good amount of skill, he's pretty bulky, he will just grow pretty well, and, like, oh yeah, he has access to the Pierce class, which I'll just call it that. Cormag is one of the best combat units in the game. With fly utility, with boss killing utility. Like, Cormag is one of those units that could just do fucking everything. But he does join quite late on Eirika route, and that's why he's down in B tier. And he is technically an investment. Cormag, very good combat unit. Very good unit in general. Damn that Eirika route for making him worse. Let's get a unit who I think is fucking terrible out of the way, and that's La Rochelle. Oh god, La Rochelle is such a... What a waste of a good character. I really like... This is completely unrelated to how she is as a unit. I love La Rochelle as like a character. I think she's just delightful. Because she's basically just like... You can tell she watched anime as a kid and that influenced her entire life. And I love that. She's just so special. She's delightful. She's the type of character that would go, "What ho?" I don't love her as a unit, because she's fucking terrible. La Rochelle joins in chapter 11, I want to say. She either joins in Ghost Ship or the Big Spooky Fortress on Eirika route. I believe that's the name of the chapter. And she will join as a level 3, I think, Troubadour, basically halfway through the game. This is fucking unacceptable. A level 3 Troubadour at this point is garbage. It doesn't matter that she's on a horse. A healer that's level 3 in chapter fucking 11 is downright unacceptable. That's like trainee levels of terrible. In order to get La Rochelle to a promotion range where she can actually contribute something other than sparking a torch every now and then, or maybe healing your wounds, you will need to heal or torch around 70 fucking times. Which is insane. That's ridiculous. By that time, the game's basically over. And the fact that a story important character is this bad is super depressing. She feels like she should be like a level 1 Cecilia type pre-promote with really like iffy stats. And I'd much prefer if she was Cecilia, like level 1 Valkyrie, lightened staffs, but with like really mediocre bases, I'd place her in C, maybe B tier. Because at that point, she's not a liability. Because remember, having 2 healers and Sacred Stones, just plain old staff users, isn't something you really want to do. And like, she's not really liable to die on her joining chapters. Also, I would like to point out, if she joins in chapter 11, you recruit like Tana in Eirika, or in Ephraim chapter 9. She joins basically at the end of the chapter, so you can almost count that as like, she joins a chapter later. So she actually joins in chapter 12, which is another knock against her. La Rochelle is just fucking terrible. Her base is, like, healer stats don't really matter for the most part. You just need to be able to heal. Being able to top off is nice, but it's not a necessity. Like, promotions are good. Valkyrie and Mage Knight are good classes. I mean, like, you're never gonna get her to that point. Like, she's not going to promote. If you promote her at 10, her stats are gonna be garbage and you're not gonna use her for combat. Just like, oh, even Natasha's better just because Natasha joins earlier. Like, if you really wanted to, you could just replace Moulder with Natasha and it wouldn't change too much. Like, she's weaker, obviously, but like, it doesn't change that much. If you try to replace Moulder with La Rochelle, like, you're gonna fucking feel it. La Rochelle's so weak. Yeah, she's just such a weak unit. Next, I guess we'll do Dozla, because he's here. Dozla is pretty boring. He's a pre-promote. He goes in C tier. He's a pre-promoted berserker. He's fine. Like, he has good strength, good HP, decent defense, pretty good bulk, not fast. And it's like, okay, gotcha. You'll, like, maybe kill some things occasionally. He's a unit that requires basically no investment, which is nice. He joins with those stats, and he's pretty much going to have those stats throughout the entire game. He's decent at combat. He's not good enough to the point where you can just shove him into a bunch of enemies and say, go kill. Like, he will, if you shove him into, like, a group of 6 enemies, he probably will die. Like, his bulk isn't that good. Yeah, what else do you say about Dozla? Like, exclusive use to Axis. He gets water walking, woo. It's not that good. It's nice, but it's, like, it's not that good. He doesn't really have enough speed to double anything outside of already slow units. He won't double late game monsters like gargoyles. He'll probably get doubled by them, in fact. His res is trash, so late game shadow shots will just melt him. Yeah, Dozla's he's not very good. But, like, he's a pre-promote, and he's basically free, and he joins with a unit that's much worse than him, so it makes him look much better. Like, he hits hard enough to the point where I think C tier is fine for him. He's free, basically. If you have a free slot in your army, he's a decent pick. Alright, here we go. Amelia obviously goes in S. Amelia goes in F tier. What the fuck did you think? I'm not dumb. Amelia goes in F tier. She's the worst unit in the game. Amelia is, at very least, bottom 3 units in the game. The most Amelia does, in general, is give you a speed wing if you're on Eirika route. I'm not sure. I don't remember if she gives you it on Ephraim route. She definitely does on Eirika route. She's the second trainer unit you get. She can promote into either the Knight archetype or the Cavalier archetype. You'll promote her into the Cavalier archetype if you're using her because you're a sane person. Actually, no. You know, I'm going to be real. If you're using Amelia, you're going to turn her into a Knight and then turn her into a General because you're memeing it up. If you're playing Cav Amelia, that's just so boring. Like, you're memeing. Go full meme lord. Just play a General Amelia. Like, if you play General Amelia, she will be really good. But, like, she won't go anywhere. That's the problem. The enemies have to come to her. Yeah, let me actually talk about Amelia. Amelia has atrocious base stats. Her base stats are fucking garbage. She will not double anything at base. Her con is garbage, her speed is garbage, her strength is garbage, she does basically no damage, she's made of paper, she can't survive a single round of combat. This is not a good unit, to put it bluntly. Also, 4 move is fucking rough, and she will have that for a good amount of time. I think the only way to make Amelia decent is literally to have her promote in her joining chapter. When we talk about investments, this unit is an investment and a half! The amount of fucking resources you have to deposit onto this unit, to deposit into this unit's bank account, is fucking absurdly humongous. Like, oh my god. You gotta give her 10 levels before she even can, like, maybe kill something on her own. That's rough. Alright. Now she's a Cav. Her stats aren't great. Like, I think level 1 Cav Amelia stats are, like, almost always, like, comparable to Franz. But Franz joins 10 chapters earlier or so. Around 10 chapters earlier. Or you can make her a Knight. She'll be much better at killing things, but then she'll still have 4 fucking move, and that's just as rough. FE8 is a game where you go pretty fast. The chapters are pretty short. So having a unit that doesn't move quick is fucking bad. I genuinely can't think of any good things about this unit. Even La Rochelle, it's like, oh, it's just a healer. She has, like, healer utility. She can be useful. She's trash, but, you know, you can still use it. This is a for fun unit. No amount, like, no competitive person. Like, it's weird to consider Fire Emblem as a competitive thing, but, like, you will never use this unit if you were just trying to beat the game as efficiently as possible. Never. F minus. I'd almost consider giving her F minus. Let's do Gerik and Alright, you know, let me just do Tethys real quick. Tethys is the dancer. Dancers dance. Dancers are really good. The only reason she's not an S tier is because she joined super late on Ephraim route. She basically joins in chapter, like, 14 on Ephraim route, because while she joins at, like, basically the start of chapter 13 in Ephraim route, she joins in a really awkward position and at a point where she basically can't do anything. Whereas on Eirika route, she joins in chapter 10, I think? She's much better on Eirika route. If it was just Eirika route, it almost plays her in S tier. But again, Seth is exclusively an S tier because he's Seth and he has his own tier. If you don't like it, fucking take it up with the council. Yeah, Tethys, she's a dancer, she dances. Dancers are always fantastic, and this one's no different. The only reason she's not in S tier is because Seth is absolutely insane. Which brings us to Gerik. Gerik is B tier. Gerik is very, very straightforward. He is someone who is good at combat. He is like Joshua in a way, but he joins later and his stats are better. Gerik has really, really good base stats. He's a mercenary. He kills things real good. He has enough speed to double a good amount of things, enough strength to just kill things on their own. He doubles a good amount of monsters. He has a good promotion with hero. He actually starts with a hero crest, and he starts at level 10, so you can just promote him right off the bat. And his stats will actually be pretty good. And the reason he's in B tier is pretty much the same as Joshua. It's like, yes, he's very good at combat, but that's kind of all he does. He basically offers no utility whatsoever. He's good at killing things, and like Joshua, he requires very little investment because he's just good from the get-go. He's worse on Ephraim route, he's better on Eirika route. He joins very, very late on Ephraim route, joins very, very early on Eirika route. but it evens out to around B tier. He's got a good promotion with Hero. It gives him access to hand axes, which is lovely, or you can make him a ranger for the extra move. I think Hero is better, but that's just me. I think 1 extra point of move is not worth the lack of hand axes. He's a pretty good boss killer. He's pretty good and bulky. Again, you can just stick him into a group of enemies and he'll probably come out on top. It's kind it's kind of as simple as that. Gerik is just a very, very simple unit. He kills things. His growths ain't great, but his bases are good enough to the point where that doesn't really matter that much. He'll probably get like an average of 2 stat level ups, like HP skill, HP strength, strength, luck, stuff like that. Which is fine. Again, like that's fine. His bases are good enough to the point where it doesn't really matter. Very straightforward. He kills things real good. And that's kind of it. Alright! Which leads us to a unit that doesn't kill thing real good. Marisa! There is an argument... Okay, first of all, F tier. There is an argument to be made, and I have made this argument in my head against many versions of me, because I am a paranoid schizophrenic, as we all know, that Marisa is arguably worse than Amelia. Marisa is a Myrmidon that joins halfway through the game, joins around 7 chapters on average after Joshua, with worse bases. I don't understand why. I think she joins with a lower level and worse bases, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. She's on a bad class, it's sword locked, 5 move, doesn't have access to 2 range at all. This is really, really bad. Can't kill anything at all when she joins because her strength is so low. Maybe fighters with a crit from the Shamshir. The Shamshir is alright. You might think that this character has higher gross than Joshua to compensate for the fact that her bases are lower, but she doesn't for the most part. I think she has like higher speed and skill growth, but her strength growth is actually lower than Joshua's. Joshua, I believe, has a 35% strength growth, and Marisa has a 30%. Well, to be fair, the difference between 30 and 35% is like minimal. That's literally 1 point of strength in 20 levels on average. But for the most part, she will grow worse than Joshua. No, she's fucking terrible. I genuinely can't think of a reasonable hypothesis for why this unit is so aggressively terrible. It's bottom 3 unit, I'd almost make an argument for bottom 1. I think, I want to say, I've seen other people say this, I want to say that Marisa is just the absolute limit of like intelligent systems wanted to test waifu bias to its absolute limit. They wanted to see, it's like, okay, let's make a unit that's just a strictly worse version of a unit you already have, of Joshua. Let's just make a unit, but we'll make them a waifu and as attractive and ooh-woo as possible. Or like, well, to be fair, Marisa's fucking soulless. That's her entire personality, is that she doesn't have one. But she looks cute, and pink-haired, black-wearing sword girl, ooh. And I've seen people make arguments that Marisa is better than Joshua, and I for the life of me cannot figure out why. One of the worst units in Fire Emblem. I think she's absolute dreck. Let's just finish off our F tier real quick. The last F tier unit is Ewan, who I think is the top of bottom 3. Personally, he's not quite as bad as Amelia and Marisa in my personal opinion. Ewan is the last trainee unit. He's a mage, or he's not a mage, he's a pupil. He is one of 2 people who can become a summoner. This is one of his biggest boons, is that he can become a summoner, and summoner is a fantastic class. He has an 8-1-2 range, which means chipping with him is actually quite easy. I'm rattling my brain for more positives, and I don't think I can find any. Ewan has the same problems as all the other trainees. He's 4 move, he's infantry. His stats are awful, like genuinely. I think they're the worst of anyone's, because he is liable to get legitimately one-shot by some like enemy units. He's absolutely, he may as well have osteoporosis. I think he's better than Amelia, purely just because he has an 8-1-2 range and can chip. But you need to baby him. I think he needs the most babying of any of the recruits. Like, because he will die. If you leave an enemy near him, he will die. He will get doubled by a good amount of things. He will get one-shot by a good amount of things. He will die. He is not, like, formidable in any way. But if you can get him to Summoner, he's alright. I mean, like, that's the thing. He's not if he was the only person who could become Summoner, if Knoll did not exist, I'd almost say he's E tier, just because Summoner is that good. But he's not. He does not have exclusive rights to the Summoner. Summoner is public domain, and many people, too, can become it. Ewan is just a very, very weak unit with not a whole lot to offer other than an admittedly very good class. But his atrocious bases, his 4 move, his infantry lock, he offers basically no utility for the first, like, 30 levels. Ewan, he's not a good boy. There are many good boys in this game, and he is not one of them. Rennac is probably a D tier unit. Rennac is pretty simple in a way. He's kind of like Colm in that, yeah, he's a thief. And unlike other games where thieves can give you a lot of things, or like offer you a lot, Rennac doesn't really have too much of a purpose in the game per se. For starters, Rennac isn't very good stat-wise. Like, his stats aren't very good. He's fast, and that's kind of it. His res is actually surprisingly good for a thief, which is nice, but ultimately doesn't really matter. Like, are you really going to be using Rennac to kill a bunch of mages? His growths aren't anything spectacular. Again, you're not going to be really using a thief for combat. If you're using a thief for combat, then you're pretty strapped for units. He's a rogue, which means he gets to open locks and doors and chests for free, which is obviously nice, but again, at the same time, lockpicks aren't really that difficult to come by in Sacred Stones. He also joins incredibly late. He joins in Chapter 14. More and most importantly, the biggest knock against Rennac is that unless you recruit him with La Rochelle, which, let's be real, you're not doing that, because Rennac's recruitment can be a little bit tricky, depending on whether you're on Eirika or Ephraim route. But you're probably not going to be recruiting him with La Rochelle, because that would require you to bring La Rochelle, and let's be real, you're not doing that most of the time. So, you will likely be recruiting him with your main lord. In order to get Rennac, you have to have, I believe, 10,000 gold? I believe it's 10,000 gold. Meaning this unit effectively costs 10,000 gold. This is not new to GBA Fire Emblems. There's a bunch of other units like Hugh and FE6 and Foreigner and FE7. The difference being here is that with those units, you at least get a decent combat unit in return for your investment. Whereas here, it's literally like a 10,000 gold investment to get something you basically don't need. Which I guess you could view it as it's 10,000 gold for the member card, which is nice, but again, not super necessary. This isn't like FE6 where the secret shop is absolutely absurd and you can buy boosters and stuff like that. You can't do that in FE8. Colm doesn't cost 10,000 gold and you get him much earlier, so you can train him if you really want to. It's not that difficult, and you can potentially make Colm a rogue and he will basically do the same thing as Rennac. But you don't have a pain in the ass recruitment, and Colm doesn't cost 10,000 gold. In fact, Colm is free, and with all the chests he's unlocking, he will actually give you gold, effectively. Whereas Rennac, opening chests will basically never pay off his debt. Yeah, he's very, very middling. If his stats were better, maybe, I don't know. Like, he needs to offer you something for that 10,000 gold. Maybe he joins with, like, some good weapons or some stat boosters or something, but, like, just the member card really isn't good enough. If La Rochelle was better, I'd say Rennac was better as well. Because being able to recruit him with La Rochelle and getting him for free is great. If you can get him for free, I'd say he's C tier, because he is just a bulkier Colm. But he joins much later. Inez, or Inns, however the fuck you pronounce his name. I'm wondering if he's C or B tier. I'm gonna place him in C tier. Like, towards the higher end of C tier. Inez is a little bit of a strange unit in that he's actually very good at what he does in, like, being a good combat unit. He actually has pretty good bases and decent growths. He pretty much has exclusive access to the Nidhogg as well. Like, basically no one else is going to be able to use that, which is kind of a point in his favor. He is genuinely just good at killing units. He can one-round a good amount of things with the Silver Bow and the Nidhogg and stuff like that, but he also has a bunch of things against him. Number one, he is bow-locked. There's nothing that can change that. He is bow-locked for the entire game. He will never have any one-range. This sucks, because it means he basically has no enemy phase whatsoever. Number two, if you go Ephraim route, he is much worse. As he joins in Chapter 15 with slightly higher bases. I think he's level 3 instead of 1, which basically makes no difference whatsoever. So he's a bow-locked unit from Chapter 15 to Chapter 21, which is like nothing. So he's basically there for a very, very short portion of the game. On Eirika route, he joins much earlier and is generally just a lot better. He joins in, what, Chapter 10 with Gerik and Tethys? And Marisa, if you want to bring Marisa. In Eirika route, he's a lot better just because you don't really have too many, like, very powerful units by that point, I'd say. You probably have, like, a couple of promoted units, but for the most part, your units are still training. So just having a pre-promote that can occasionally kill things that need to die is quite nice. Inez he's just very average for the most part. He's good. He can kill things real good, which is nice. Again, like I've said before, he's good at killing things, but that's kind of it. He doesn't really have any utility. I don't know. He can't really do very much outside of just kill things in enemy phase or in player phase, which a lot of characters can do already and have an enemy phase. Like Gerik has an enemy phase, Cormag has an enemy phase, Ephraim, Joshua have an enemy phase. Inez is just very straightforward. He's a decent player phase unit, but that's kind of it. Saleh. Oh, I never know how to pronounce this word. Saleh. We'll just call him Saleh. I'm gonna place Saleh in A tier. I think Saleh is very, 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 very good. He's maybe a B tier unit. I'm not entirely sure. He is Pent. He joins at a very similar time to Pent on Ephraim route. He joins at basically the same time on Ephraim route. He joins earlier on Eirika route and is a bit better. But the most important part is he's pent, but he's been nerfed in pretty much every single way. His staff rank is lower, his stats are lower, his growths are crap, they're just plain old bad. And he's still, yet, despite all of these shortcomings, he's still an incredibly strong unit and very, very good. Like Pent, this unit requires no investment. You get him for free. Like, this unit just kills things right off the bat. He's doubling right off the bat. He is killing things right off the bat. He is healing right off the bat. He can do so much. And he has Sea and Staves, which is a little bit low, but he can still get to high-level staves like Warp and such. I think his biggest issue is that availability is a little bit rough. He joins at a good time on Eirika route, but on Ephraim route he joins pretty damn late. It's the same problem as Inez. Innate 1-2 range, reasonably bulky for a mage, which is quite nice. He's not invincible, per se. Like, towards the late game, he can become pretty susceptible to just dying. Like, I feel like late game enemies using silver weapons and stuff like that can just deal a good chunk of damage every turn, and he will just die. It makes you wonder why Ewan's in the game in the first place, though, because, fun fact, on Eirika route, Saleh and Ewan join on the same chapter, and it's just, you just look at the two of them side by side and go, which one of these is the better unit? I can't make my mind up. Saleh has great bases, great weapon type, access to a good class, great staff utility, joins at a pretty good time. He's just all-round pretty good, and most importantly, like Dozla and Inez, he requires basically no investment in order to be good. You can just use him right off the bat and he will be useful. Duessel... I'm gonna place Duessel in B tier. This might be a little bit higher than he deserves. I think Duessel is quite good because of his Ephraim route performance. Duessel joins really early on Ephraim route. He joins on chapter 10, he joins basically halfway through the chapter. He still gets that second half of the chapter where he can shine with his really good bases, his really like high level class. He's really bulky. He's really goddamn difficult to kill. He's on a decent class. Obviously it'd be better if he was Paladin. If he was Paladin, I'd probably place him in A tier, maybe even S tier. Great Knight reduces his move, but it increases his bulk. It gives him access to all 3 weapon types, which is really nice. He has great weapon ranks. He has, I believe, A's in everything, which is fantastic. Duessel's pretty much a filler unit for the most part, because he's a unit that joins at level 10 with great combat prowess. He will kill things real good. He'll double some stuff. He's very difficult to kill. He's a very good hold the line unit. His move isn't great, so you're not going to use him too much for rescue utility. Actually, I guess you could use him for rescue utility, because I think his aid is one of the highest in the game. He's mostly a filler unit, because he joins at a very high level, and will thus gain XP very slowly. Like, I think he's level 10. Like, a level 10 Great Knight is a really high level unit for that part of the game. Which definitely fits with the character, I wouldn't change that at all. But it can greatly reduce, or greatly diminish his overall usefulness as the game goes on. Like, by late game, he will stop doubling things, his durability will wane a bit, and he generally will just become less useful. Duessel can fill in, basically, for whatever holy weapon user that you don't have. Now, bear with me for this. There are a bunch of holy weapons in the game. There's, like, Evoldi, the Light Tome. There's Odholma, the sword. Chances are, unless you're planning really well and playing really efficiently, there's probably going to be one that you're missing, and there's a good chance Duessel can fill in for whichever one you're missing. Like, oh, I forgot to level an axe user or something like that. Oh, I know, I'll level Duessel's axe rank real quick, I'll get him to S rank axes, now he can use Garm. Like, something like that gives him a lot of just, you can fit Duessel into your army really nicely. He basically fits a niche that a lot of characters would love to have. Duessel is a very solid unit. He definitely has his fair share of weaknesses, and on Eirika route he is not helpful, because obviously he doesn't show up at all on Eirika route, he shows up right at the end. But he is very useful in combat, just overall a very durable unit. A very solid unit. Nothing spectacular, but he is decent. And he can make good use of any holy weapons that you otherwise wouldn't be able to use. Knoll's an interesting unit. I'm going to put him in C tier. Knoll is a weird unit. He's one of the only one of two units in the entire game to have access to Summoner, which is a huge boon for him. He joins at level 12, I want to say, level 10-ish, level 12-ish. He basically has the same join time, regardless of which route you take. He'll join in 15, effectively. Knoll has a lot of trouble in combat, because his bases aren't very good. Outside of magic, he really doesn't do very well in combat. He'll hit hard, but he'll double very little off the bat. I think he has 8 or 9 speed at base, which is enough to not get doubled by a good amount of things, but basically not enough to double anything that matters outside of maybe zombies. But you can just immediately promote him upon getting him, and he will be either a pretty good staff bot or a pretty good summon bot. And I feel like I should probably delve into why Summoner is so dangerously powerful and why I think they've never repeated it. Because it's a class that basically lets you guarantee one enemy action per turn. Because yes, Phantoms obviously aren't designed to do damage, they're designed to take a hit. Just having that ability to basically guarantee that an enemy is going to waste one action on enemy phase is incredibly powerful. And you can keep doing this. Like, it's not even a once per map thing, it's literally a once per turn thing. Being able to guarantee what the enemy is doing is incredibly strong. Unfortunately, his growths and bases aren't very good. He's foot locked for the most part. He's gonna have 6 move when he promotes, which is nice, but it can make him fall behind a little bit. His trademark 0 luck is actually really, really rough. It can affect hit rates, it can affect crit rates. He's made of paper, so he probably won't be facing, like, combat. He'll mostly be, if he does face any combat, it will be from afar, because he is incredibly fragile and will die very, very easily. And that's half the reason I'm tempted to put him in D, because his combat is genuinely very poor. But the fact that he gets access to such a good class, I think he bumps him up. It bumps him up to C tier. And also I like him as a character, so that's probably my own personal bias. I think Knoll is cool. I think he's a cool character. Knoll has a lot of problems, but he gets access to basically the best class, and it's not the best class in the game, but it's a very, very good class. Syrene goes in C tier. Syrene is not that bad. People really like to rag on Syrene and say like, oh, this unit's so trash, he can't do anything, joins with no speed, no strength, no Riz, fucking terrible. And yes, her bases aren't that great. She fits the role of the third Pegasus sister in a lot of the cases where, like, she's like Juno in FE6, where it's just like, yeah, her bases aren't very good and she barely has any time to grow because she has the worst availability in the game. She joins in River of Regret in Chapter 17, which is literally 4 chapters away from the end of the game. She barely has any of the game remaining, basically 20% of the game. She's forced onto Falco Knight instead of Wyvern Knight, which is really, really rough, because the extra con could help her out. She's not fast enough to double anything, like, that meaningful. She can double some monsters, I think, that's kind of it. She's not very durable, she's not very good at dealing damage. She's kind of just a filler unit. But that doesn't necessarily mean she's bad, per se. She still has a lot of good things. One, she still has access to a good class with Falco Knight. Like, Falco Knight isn't as good as Wyvern Knight, but it's still a good class. You get access to swords. I believe she starts with C in swords, A in lancers, which is pretty alright for weapon ranks. And more importantly, she is still a flyer. And having a flyer is always helpful. Like, I remember specifically in Darkling Woods, I just used Syrene to ferry units over the little gap from the temple. Like, there's a little gap, there's like a little bit of water, I think, into a forest. And I just use that to ferry my lord over, and basically just skip most of the map, because that map's fucking boring and I don't want to do it. And that is genuinely valuable. Yeah, I think Syrene, while not the best unit by a long shot, she's definitely the weakest flyer in the game. She can ferry units, she has flyer utility, she has a lot of things going for her, but at the end of the day, she isn't that great. But I do think people really like to rag on her. There's no way she's a D tier unit. There's no way she's as potentially weak as Ross, or as pointless as Natasha, or as expensive as Rennac, or as non-existent as Orson. She's useful. She's not the best, but she is a useful character. And last, but definitely not least, is Myrrh. I have no fucking idea where to place Myrrh. Myrrh is not a unit. Myrrh is a weapon. Myrrh is a character with no utility whatsoever. Myrrh is specifically designed to kill things. Like, I talked about this earlier, where it's like Joshua and Ephraim and Gerik. These are units that are designed to kill things. But they still can rescue and have utility if you really want them to. Myrrh can't rescue anyone because her aid is nothing, meaning she has no flyer utility whatsoever. She's a flyer without utility. In fact, her being a flyer most of the time isn't helpful. But yes, Myrrh, she starts off as the coughing baby, and then you level her up around 6-7 times, and now she's a hydrogen bomb. She will consistently basically one-round everything she fights once she reaches like level 8 or 9, and that's good, but also like not that necessary, and she's locked to 1 range. She's basically just there to be a boss killer, in a way, because she has permanent effective damage against monsters, which is really good. She effectively has Slayer, with the unfortunate caveat of her being permanently locked to 1 range, and only having 50 uses. This is why I also think of her as a weapon, because she literally has 50 uses before she stops being a character. Yeah, I'm really not sure where to place Myrrh. She's very good at what she does, but what she does is a niche that has been... It's not a niche, it's just something everyone does, which is fight. And ultimately, you can't use her too much, because yes, the Dragonstone can effectively break, You basically have to feed her a bunch of kills early as well. Like, she does start very weak. She will not double anything. In fact, she gets doubled by a good amount of things. She's a good boss killer for the most part. Like, she is actually one of the few reliable ways to get rid of Morva. Like, you have someone deal, like, I think 15 to 20 damage, just maybe through spears or like, tomahawks or stuff like that, and then you just send in Myrrh for the kill. You send her in to kill her dad, it's fine. Trauma doesn't exist. I'm going to place Myrrh in C tier. Purely because I'm going to place her higher than some of these mooks, though. I'm going to place her, like, above Eirika and above Inez. She's, like, at the cusp of B tier. I think she's very, very good at what she does once she gets going. She's the unit that snowballs the fastest. And she gains a shitload of XP just by killing things because she's level 1. She is a force to be reckoned with. That being said, she has no 1-2 range, so you can't just send her in against a bunch of monsters, because most monsters have a 2-range option, like eyeballs have a 2-range option, some gargoyles have javelins, some centaurs have hand axes, stuff like that. Like, you can't just do that. She can tank reasonably well, but ultimately you don't really need a tank that doesn't retaliate in late game, so that really isn't that helpful. And she joins so late as well. That's a big, like, issue with her. She joins from chapter 16, meaning she gets 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And that's it. Only 3 of those chapters actually have monsters, otherwise she's just going to be fighting regular goobers. And while she, like, can fight them perfectly well, she doesn't get effective damage, and she won't one-round them at the start, which is legitimately kind of rough. Myrrh is a strange unit. I think C tier is about right. It's really hard, she can kill things really, really effectively, but ultimately doesn't really offer any utility. Like, every single one of these characters, aside from Myrrh, offers some utility. Even characters like Ewan, Marisa, and Amelia. Because, like, Marisa, while not useful or particularly good, she can still rescue if need be, which is genuinely helpful. Being able to rescue another unit is always helpful. Bring back rescuing. Jesus Christ, it's such a good mechanic. Just bring it back, please, dear God. 0 utility, 100% combat. And while that's nice, it's not particularly required. Maybe if Sacred Stones was a harder game, Myrrh would be better. Alright, that's everyone. Very cool. I think I did pretty alright. I think this all seems about in order. I don't think anything really needs to be changed. I could maybe move Syrene down or, like, Myrrh up, but I think for the most part this is my opinion of every Sacred Stones character. Cool. This was actually surprisingly a lot of fun to make. I wouldn't expect a Fire Emblem tier list to be this fun to make, but I legitimately enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this type of content, please let me know and I'll fucking crank some more out if you guys are into this. I really have no idea. I know you guys like my Fire Emblem videos, but I couldn't tell you for the life of me why. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, please tell me why. If you think I'm completely wrong, please tell me why, and I'll proceed to not listen in any way, and if you think I'm right, I'll listen to that. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, guys. More Fire Emblem content coming at some point. Probably, who knows? Who knows what the future will hold. Alright, see you around!